Hi traders, this is E on Halloween with an update of Friday's trading. We started the day off with a 15-minute chart. We thought that would be the right chart in play. Called for 78 support. Attempt to get to the half gap and gap trade. Better odds if you waited closer to the open for that trade. And if we could get through that 82 area, 83 area, then potentially touch the 85 to 88, 75 test. We wanted all trades off by that 88.75, which we posted as last year's high and potential resistance. So overnight there was a sweeper, knocked out stops, came back. We thought that would be a critical level to test, and no clue whether it would be held or not, but that was our feeling, was 89 stop. Try your shorts from there. The double top test that came in basically later into the day realistically was one that could have failed on a pullback and kept going higher, but we felt best odds would probably be to close somewhere in the 80s. But once we took out 82, we felt that was the key. And I had told traders 82 is the key line. If we can get through that, then anything goes. And it is the end of the month, end of the week. So bring your trailers with you and see if we could do the double bottom test. If we knocked out 78s, then obviously anything goes. Targets were 76.5 as T1 and 70.25 as T2. Late in the day, we got the sell-off right into the close. A great call by Zeke. He thought that that was going to happen. I wasn't as convinced as he was, but he was dead on when he said that there's going to be a lot to sell into the close, end of month, end of week. So we had migrated from the 15-minute chart to the 30, which is a typical idea that we like to see. To revert to a little bit deeper chart, and you can see how that 82 came into play because we were looking at that number. And so if we stayed in this funnel underneath the blue line, then we felt we could come back in and test that 73 that needed to be tested, and 75s, and Zeke actually thought we could even get to 68s, but I told everybody make sure you're done 72 into the 70.25. So that's how we ended the day with that one last call. If you wanted to short, use 82s. With the E-mini wizard system, we think it's important that we look at some charts with no spaghetti, no moving averages. That's one of our primary ideas, that moving averages are great in trends, but sometimes you'll get messed up looking at too many things. So we have charts that will show us levels, and this is an example of one of them. We felt this 73 area was an important zone, thought that this was a support area that needed to be undone for any good fortune for the shorts. Being the month end and weekend, we thought profit taking would come in. If it came in early, it would free up for a bounce. And in the afternoon, anything goes. When we stalled at the double top and late came back into that 78, quick profit taking bounce, and this is the sell into the close. These are 60-minute bars. And Harmony is going to be back here into the 73 zone, as you can see. So primary target was if you could get back in and test that 73 to 72s, good fortune below. And I actually thought good fortune below the 78s, which was the scene of the crime, 77, 75. Back here, we thought that was an important marker to stay aware of. There's a much bigger picture, and this is typical of the way we try to do some analysis. I realize there are a lot of arrows on here and probably a little confusing to some of you, but these are the same idea of having different levels, and you can see why we thought that this 96 area was a very important next resistance zone. And we had suggested have 1 foot out the door, and this was not the time to get religion up here after we had a killer month that rose all the way from one of the much deeper levels. We liked the idea of that 82.5 this middle zone right here as being support to come back up and test obviously the 20 zone. We felt at the time that this could be a resistance zone. It turned out we got a little pullback, but it was not a very deep one, held at that 208 area. And once we got up into the next level in here, the 58 to 60 zone, and this held, then it became obvious that the next target, realistically, and that's the year open 2055, then we felt that, okay, this 88.75 to 96 area was the next obvious target. So this is the current range that we are seeing that needs to be resolved before anything else. And that's why we're not concerned about the 220 to 30 area yet. We need to do this battle, and this frame needs to be resolved before you start thinking here or back up here. There is a gap up here at the 08 area, 07 area, but this for us needs to be resolved. And this we're interpreting as a profit-taking swing at the end of the month, and that's all we know. So not willing to place big bets that we're going south side or long, but resolve this neighborhood first. That's step-by-step trading. Here's the RTH Angels and Demons chart. We can see the little double that held in this 77.5 area. We had suggested be done coming into 78.5 to 76.5. Trying to basically put a point above and beyond that target area, one above, one just below it, and assume that would be the neighborhood that would try to hold based on the previous day's action. When we came out at the end of the morning, we had suggested we should get a lunch bounce. Make sure you're covered. Who knows where it will close? The day would certainly be allowed to migrate back and take some profits off of that 95 high. We thought anybody that had played morning wanted to make sure they got paid, and it would cause a little float back in to test that 85 to 88 area at least. We called for the 89 stop. Anybody wanted to trade at lunchtime, and there was a double top, and we suggested the trade come down and test this 82 area that had originally been a demon, and if we got through it, then the door would be open again to test the lows. So with that afternoon trade that just kept sliding into that 3:30 time frame, this is the right time to make sure you're paid and causes a bounce. And this is the trade that probably a lot of traders missed, figuring the day was over. But it was a pretty vicious sell right into the close and came down and knocked out all these stops. So this was our end of day demon at the 86.5, and our angel actually formed right at the end of the day at 72.75. This is the Globex chart, a 15-minute chart. Once you identify where the angels and demons are, you can put it on any level you want, whether 15 or 30 or whatever, but 93.5 was the all-day demon. And we wanted our traders to be aware of yesterday's high, that 86.5, so that anything that was above it potentially was new territory, but we felt the biggie was that 88.75 idea. And if you are using a tight stop in that 89 to 90 range, looking for profit taking, obviously after a great month, we wanted to remember that 77-75 area, and we also wanted to remember basically the 75s. We thought that would be a key. We've got an important number in there in that 75 to 76 area, so we felt that would be our support for the drive, any drives to go back and retest 85 to 88s and even higher. At the end of the day, once you take out that double at 78, anything goes, and we try to tell our traders, make sure on any new lows, make sure you get paid. A lot of times you will get doubles down here that will try to hold in that 72 to 73, and the head fake normally is just to go below it a hair or just ahead of it and then bounce back. So our technique is make sure on any break of a double like this to make sure you get paid. Normally that's this first move back, and then if it stalls again at that important 82 area, that's where we felt we could get the return run. But this is probably a, I don't know, 10 or 20% odds trade. More times than not, you'll get beat on this trade if you try this trade end of day. Probably a lot of traders miss this, I would guess, because it came so late. So that's an analysis of the things we were looking at. Zeke made a perfect call. He said this will sell into the close, and he was right on his game. And one of our traders said, are we going to test 73? And I said, yes, as long as 82 holes, 83 holes, we've got a shot at it. And when it took it out, then the odds lessened. But once we got back down here and held, that's where I remembered that idea we talked about earlier. And I said, if you are going to short, it's an aggressive play, then use the 82s and hope you get lucky. So those that took that trade, we felt outstanding luck to come back down one more time at the end of the day. This is Z for eminywizard.com and marketwizards.com signing off. Hope you've enjoyed this segment, and catch you on the next one.